The Mueller Report, the play, 10 Acts of Obstruction. This play is a translation of Mueller's Report, Volume 2, Obstruction of Justice Evidence. Mueller's evidence is based on sworn testimonies, documents, recordings, and other objective evidence. The play directly translates the evidence descriptions into active dialogue. One can almost follow the Mueller Report paragraph by paragraph throughout the play. Act 8. To provide background for Act 8, here are some relevant scenes from Act 4. The first public report that Trump himself is under investigation by the Special Counsel's Office. The press reports.
The Special Counsel is investigating whether Trump has attempted to obstruct justice. The Special Counsel is interviewing intelligence community leaders, including Coates and Rogers, about what Trump has asked them to do in response to Comey's March 20th, 2017 testimony. This inquiry into obstruction marks a major turning point in the investigation. While Trump has received private assurances from then FBI Director James B. Comey, stating in January that he was not personally under investigation, officials say that changed shortly after Comey's firing. The Washington Post is reporting that Special Counsel is investigating whether Trump has attempted to obstruct justice.
That evening, at approximately 10:31 p.m., Trump calls McGahn.
What about this reporting that I am under investigation?
You're calling on my personal cell phone?
The conversation lasted for about 15 minutes. Early the next day, Trump makes 3 separate tweets.
They made up a phony collusion with the Russian story, found 0 proof, so now they go for obstruction of justice on the phony story. Nice. You are witnessing the single greatest witch hunt in American political history, led by some very bad and conflicted people. Crooked H destroyed phones with hammer, bleached emails, and had husband meet with AG just days before she was cleared, and they talk about obstruction.
June 16, 2017, Trump makes 2 separate tweets.
After 7 months of investigations and committee hearings about my collusion with the Russians, nobody has been able to show any proof. Sad. I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director. Witch hunt.
Trump calls McGahn.
Remove the special counsel. Call Rosenstein and say Mueller has conflicts that preclude him from serving as special counsel. You gotta do this. You gotta call Rod.
I'll see what I can do. This call is unsettling. I do not intend to act on the request. Other advisors and I believe the asserted conflicts are silly and not real, and we've previously communicated that view to Trump. I've also made clear to Trump that the White House counsel's office should not be involved in any effort to press the issue of conflicts. I'm concerned about having any role in asking the acting Attorney General to fire the special counsel, because coming from the Reagan era, I want to be more like Judge Robert Bork and not Saturday Night Massacre Bork. I believe that Trump's request is an inflection point, and I want to hit the brakes.
Trump calls McGahn again.
I mean it. Remove the special counsel. Call Rod. Tell Rod that Mueller has conflicts and can't be the special counsel.
I understand, okay? I just wanted to get off the phone. I'm worn down. He has the impression that I'm going to do it. I feel trapped. I do not know what I will say the next time Trump calls. I must resign.
McGahn calls his personal attorney.
I'm resigning.
Then he calls his chief of staff, Annie Donaldson.
I'm resigning.
McGahn then drove to his office to pack his belongings and submit his resignation letter. Here he talks to Annie Donaldson, his chief of staff.
Trump has called and demands that I contact the Department of Justice. Trump wants me to do something that I do not want to do. Trump has called at least twice more, and in one of the calls has asked, "Have you done it?" I don't want to tell Donaldson the specifics of Trump's request, because I'm consciously trying not to involve her in the investigation.
Trump's directive must be related to the Russian investigation I will prepare to resign along with McGahn.
That evening, McGahn calls Priebus and Bannon separately.
I intend to resign. Trump has asked me to do crazy shit.
No, please don't quit.
I'm not going to share the details of Trump's request with other White House staff.
McGahn does not tell me the specifics of Trump's request because McGahn is trying to protect me from what I do not need to know.
I intend to resign. Trump has asked me to do crazy shit.
No, please don't quit.
McGahn ultimately returned to work that Monday and remained in his position. He had not told Trump directly that he planned to resign, and when they next saw each other, Trump did not ask McGahn whether he had followed through with calling Rosenstein. Now to continue Act 8 for Obstruction I. Obstruction I, in Mueller Report, Volume 2, page 113, Trump orders McGahn to deny that Trump tried to fire the special counsel. The first evidence of Obstruction I is the press reports that Trump tried to fire the special counsel. Press reports 6 months after the actual act occurred.
In June 2017, Trump had ordered McGahn to have the Department of Justice fire the special counsel. After receiving Trump's order to fire special counsel Mueller, the White House counsel, Don McGahn, refused to ask the Justice Department to dismiss Mueller, saying he would quit instead. Trump ultimately backed down after McGahn threatened to resign rather than carry out the directive.
Also, amid the first waves of news media reports that Mueller was examining the possible obstruction case, Trump began to argue that Mueller had 3 conflicts of interest that disqualified him from overseeing the investigation. Trump also publicly stated,
Fake news, folks, fake news. A typical New York Times fake story.
The next day, Washington Post reported on the same event and added,
McGahn had not told Trump directly that he intended to resign rather than carry out the directive to have the special counsel terminated.
Evidence number 2. Trump seeks to have McGahn dispute the press reports. Trump's personal attorney calls McGahn's attorney.
Trump wants McGahn to put out a statement denying that he had been asked to fire the special counsel and that he had threatened to quit in protest.
After call, McGahn's attorney tells McGahn,
This is what has been requested by Trump's personal attorney.
McGahn's attorney responds to Trump's personal attorney.
McGahn will not make a statement. The Times story is accurate in reporting that Trump wanted the special counsel removed. Although the article is inaccurate in some other respects, McGahn cannot comply with Trump's request to dispute the story.
White House Communications Director Hope Hicks talks to Trump.
One of your attorneys has spoken to McGahn's attorney about requesting McGahn's denial.
Trump talks to Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Contact McGahn about the story.
Later, Sanders talks to McGahn.
Trump wants you to respond to the Times story.
There's no need to respond. Some of the article's accurate. I see no reason to correct the Times story.
Priebus goes on Meet the Press TV show.
I have never heard that the president wants the special counsel fired.
After Priebus's appearance, Priebus talks to Trump.
You did a great job on Meet the Press. I have never said any of those things about the special counsel.
The next day, on February 5th, 2018, Trump and White House Staff Secretary Robert Porter discusses the situation.
The Times article is bullshit. I have not sought to terminate the special counsel. McGahn leaked it to the media to make himself look good.
Shouldn't this matter be handled by the White House Communications Office?
I want McGahn to write a letter to the file for our records. I want something beyond a press statement to demonstrate that the reporting is inaccurate. McGahn is a lying bastard. I want a record from him. If he doesn't write a letter, then maybe I will have to get rid of him.
Later that day, Porter talks to McGahn.
Trump says you have to write a letter to dispute that you were ever ordered to terminate the special counsel.
The media reports are true. Trump was insistent on firing the special counsel, and I did plan to resign rather than carry out the order, although I did not personally tell Trump I intended to quit.
Trump suggested that you will be fired if you do not want to write the letter.
The optics would be terrible if Trump followed through with firing me on that basis. I will not write the letter Trump requests.
Then Porter talks to Kelly.
This is what was said in my conversation with McGahn.
The next day, on February 6, 2018, Kelly schedules a meeting with McGahn to meet with him and Trump in the Oval Office to discuss the Times article. The morning of the meeting, Trump's personal attorney calls McGahn's attorney to say that Trump is going to be speaking with McGahn and McGahn cannot resign no matter what happens in the meeting. The Oval Office meeting begins. Trump, the White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, and McGahn attending.
The New York Times story does not look good. You need to correct it. I never said to fire Mueller. I never said fire. This story doesn't look good. You need to correct this. You're the White House counsel.
I acknowledge that I did not tell you directly that I planned to resign, but the story is otherwise accurate.
Did I say the word fire?
What you said is, call Rod Rosenstein, tell Rod that Mueller has conflicts and can't be special counsel.
I never said that. I merely wanted you to raise the conflicts issue with Rosenstein and leave it to him to decide what to do.
I did not understand the conversation that way. Instead, I heard, call Rod, there are conflicts, Mueller has to go.
Will you do a correction?
No. Trump is testing my mettle to see how committed I am to what happened.
The meeting is a little tense.
Why did you tell the special counsel's office investigators that I had told you to have the special counsel removed?
I had to. My conversation with you is not protected by attorney-client privilege.
What about these notes? Why do you take notes? Lawyers don't take notes. I never had a lawyer who took notes.
I keep notes because I'm a real lawyer. The notes create a record and are not a bad thing.
I've had a lot of great lawyers, like Roy Cohn. He did not take notes.
After the Oval Office meeting concluded, McGahn and Kelly talk.
Trump and I did have the conversation about removing the special counsel.
I have pointed out to Trump after our Oval Office meeting that you had not backed down and will not budge.
Following the Oval Office meeting, Trump's personal attorney calls McGahn's attorney.
Trump is fine with McGahn.
Pages 118 to 120 of Volume 2 of the Mueller report outlines the relevance of the evidence presented in Act 8 to the elements of the case for obstruction of justice. The analysis includes the principles of an obstructive act, nexus to a proceeding, and intent. The audience is encouraged to review that analysis. The report states that substantial evidence indicates that in Trump's repeatedly urging of McGahn to dispute that he ordered to have special counsel Mueller terminated, the president acted for the purpose of influencing McGahn's account in order to deflect or prevent further scrutiny of the president's conduct towards the investigation. Several facts support that conclusion. The president made repeated attempts to get McGahn to change his story. As described above, by the time of the last attempt, the evidence suggests that the president had been told on multiple occasions that McGahn believed the president had ordered him to have the special counsel terminated. McGahn interpreted his encounter with the president in the Oval Office as an attempt to test his mettle and see how committed he was to his memory of what had occurred. The president had already laid the groundwork for pressing McGahn to alter his account by telling Porter that it might be necessary to fire McGahn if he did not deny the story, and Porter relayed that statement to McGahn. Additional evidence of the president's intent may be gleaned from the fact that his attorney was sufficiently alarmed by the prospect of the president's meeting with McGahn, and he called McGahn's attorney and said that McGahn could not resign no matter what happened in the Oval Office that day. The president's attorney was well aware of McGahn's resolve not to issue what he believed to be a false account of events despite the president's request. Finally, as noted above, Trump brought up the special counsel investigation in his Oval Office meeting with McGahn and criticized him for telling the special counsel about the June 17, 2017 events. The president's statement reflects his understanding and his displeasure that the events would be part of an obstruction of justice inquiry. End of Act 8.